Okay, let me get my other light. Get started. Okay. What is that little countdown? Oh, wait, what is that? Okay. Oh. Welcome. Today, I want to talk about the Venus transit that is important, that's happening. I mean, every transit is important, but this one is a big one because, hi, Callie the God. This one is a big one because it's also going to be going retrograde in Leo. And if we remember the last Venus retrograde, it was in Capricorn. Now it's going to be going retrograde in Leo. And Venus is a personal planet. So it's closer to Earth. So it affects us on a very day-to-day, level. And so, yeah, I'm excited to talk more about it in this transmit. Let me just pull up okay, I have this up, but I just want to get the exact dates for you guys so you know when everything is happening. So let me pull up my astrology calendar, which you can also download for free. It's on my website, bobbyperfection.com or bobstrology.com. Either one works. Yeah. And then we're gonna get into it. And I like to try to make these as simple as possible. I try not to be super over explaining, but I am a little chatty lately. So just so y'all know, I'm gonna try not to, but I might talk quite a bit. All right, so Venus. Okay, so Venus moved into Leo on the 5th. We know this. That was just 2 days ago. And if you didn't feel it, I don't know how, because it was, I mean, maybe for me, because I'm a Leo sun and I'm an early Leo sun. So I'm like at the fifth or seventh degree of Leo, seventh, I believe. And so I felt it like immediately. So also, if you're like a July 22nd, 23rd, baby, you probably are feeling that energy pretty potent too. Or if you have a Leo moon, things like that. If you're in your your Venus return right now, if you're a Leo Venus, you're going to feel this energy intensely. But I felt it, and I actually had a really interesting interaction happen as soon as this transit like made its way into Leo. So, but yeah. And then it's going to go backwards in July, I believe. Yeah. So on July 22nd, it's going to go retrograde. Let me also just pull up the degrees because I want to be specific so that you know too. You can look at your degrees and see where exactly it's going to be stimulating what areas, parts, or whatever in your chart. And also another some of the ways that I actually look at all this stuff too, a good website to just see like what the current planets are right away or things like that is astro-seek.com. I love them, and also astro.com, but I use AstroSeek more for transit stuff or just to see what everything is right now. It's a good, and they have like a whole monthly, like you can look at the planets and what's happening with them every month. They have it broken down really nice and neatly. So I really love using them. So if you're somebody that's like getting more into astrology, or if you are into astrology and you are kind of playing with different sites and stuff like that, AstroSeek, I would recommend them because they have a pretty good, they just have pretty good tools on their site. So yeah. So so in July, so Venus moved into Leo on the 5th at, put in my time, at 6:47 a.m. So early in the morning, LA time. If you're somewhere else in the world, like New York or something, that would be like 9 something your time. And then in July, on the 22nd, I think it's the 22nd. Yeah. So on the 22nd, it's going to go retrograde on the 22nd. And it's going to be retrograde all the way until, I want to say September, but let me just make sure I have my stuff correct. Yes, it's going to be retrograde from July 22nd all the way until September 3rd. So that is the retrograde time period. And then on the 23rd, it's going to station direct. And then it'll move back forward through Leo all the way until October. I think it moves out of Leo October 9th, I think. Let me double check that. October 8th. So I was a day off, but October 8th. And then let me get the degrees. So it's basically going to be moving. Venus, what are you? This is, I want to see, it's a retrograde degree. So let me bounce back to June. And let's look at the chart for the day that Venus goes. July, sorry, the 22nd. It's going to go retrograde at the it goes retrograde. Oh, it like moves almost completely out of Leo. So it's going to go retrograde at the 28th degree of Leo and then move back all the way to, wow. Oh yeah, so if you have Leo placements, if you have any Leo placements or even placements like beginning of Virgo, then you probably this is gonna affect you more intensely than everybody else. If you have opposition, so Aquarius placements, that's exactly opposite Leo. You're gonna feel this as well in a different way, but you're gonna feel it. Let's see where it bounces back to when it comes out of its retrograde. September 3rd. $12 degrees. So it's gonna move all the way to the 28th degree of Leo, and then it's gonna move back. It's gonna go retrograde and move all the way back to the 12th degree of Leo. So first of all, what is Venus in Leo? First of all, Venus is the planet of love, our values, our magnetism, the things, how we draw things into ourselves, how we connect and unite things. And when I say connect, I don't mean in the same way that Mars is more communicative and connective that way through knowledge. Venus is more connective through energy and love and art and beauty and harmonizing. So things of that nature, that's how it connects and unifies things, brings things together, right? You could think of literally love, right? And things around union and marriage and partnerships and friendships and business connections, things like that. That is what Venus is talking about. And Venus in our chart specifically can sometimes for men. So sometimes for men, it can be the women, the type of woman or energetic femininity that you appreciate most in your life or draw into your life. Whereas like on the other hand, like Mars for women would be kind of that more masculine energy that you would that you appreciate more or draw more into your life or maybe want more of, right? And so Venus in all of our charts is the ways that we love, the kind of love that we like to give and accept or receive and those kinds of things. It's about our values, our resources in a way, what we value in this life, what we deem as valuable in ourselves, what we look at as worthy of our time, our energy, our resources, blah, blah, blah. Venus is also, I look at Venus as conditional love versus, I think, a planet or energy that would be more unconditional would be like Neptune or very much more. I just think of Venus as kind of a conditional kind of love. Like, what am I willing to give and what do I want to receive and those kinds of things. And so Venus moving into Leo, if we think about the Leo archetype, Leo energy is very bold. Think about the sun, all the things you can think about the sun. It's warm. It's very demanding, right? It's very theatrical and out there, right? When the sun is at its peak, it's like bright and brings everybody outside. It's inviting, it's radiant energy. Leo energy can be very like, look at me, demanding attention, right? Those kinds of things. And so Venus moving into this space. Also, if we think about this, the archetype of Leo, it's all about entertainment and creativity and expression. So Venus moving into this sign is wanting to express, right? Leo rules the heart. So it's almost like whatever's on your heart, it won't be contained. Does that make sense? Whether that be good or bad or whatever you're feeling or experiencing, it has to be brought out in some way. And if we don't channel the energy, then obviously it can just spiral and come out in all kinds of crazy ways. But if we're able to channel our energy and channel this transit, we can make some beautiful art with this transit. We can make some beautiful connections with this transit. We can make some beautiful just changes within ourselves with this transit, all kinds of stuff like that. Leo is all about confidence and being straight within. That's why it comes before Virgo, right? I can't remember who brought this up, but I heard somebody say this and I've been adding onto it ever since. But Leo comes before Virgo because in order to be of service to other people, which is Virgo, right? Being of service and help and critiquing and, fine tuning, you have to be set within yourself, right? And that's where that selfishness comes in. That's where that idea of like, you got to be right within, because when you want to help people, you don't actually have to do a bunch of work. You really just have to be who you are, right? And give just like Leo energy, when it is nurtured properly and feels good about itself and is in a good space, it just radiates out. It doesn't have to put in any extra effort to give or to help or to share, right? So a lot of times when that energy isn't nurtured properly or correctly, it comes from a more of a and I don't want to use this word, but I don't want to use the word ego, because I think people associate ego with insecurity a lot, and there's two separate things. And so I'm gonna say it comes from an insecure place where it's like, I'm doing this because I want something reciprocated, or I want some validation or some sort of basically validation for what I'm doing. I'm trying to make myself feel better about myself by giving or helping or doing these things versus it just being like, I'm just doing it because it's just what I do. Right. And so that is one of the that made so much sense to me when that I can't even remember who the person is, but I wish I could remember when they said, "Oh, that this is why Leo comes before Virgo because you have to be right within in order to be of service to other people." Right? It's that whole thing of like you can't pour from an empty cup, literally, right? Or you're just depleting yourself, and then you're gonna end up being resentful or feeling like it's not reciprocated. All these things, right? That kind of stuff. And so, this energy is all about nurturing that self fulfillingness, right? I don't want to say selfishness. I want to say self fulfilling. So fulfilling the things in yourself that you need so that you can just move through the world and be what you want to be and inspire others and connect with others and draw that out of other people just by your energy alone, right? Have you ever been around somebody and they're just like set in themselves, they're very secure in who they are, and they just are radiant and they inspire you to be like, let me go do this or let me do the stuff that I really like to do, right? That's Leo energy at its peak, at its most just beautiful form, right? It's just like being just so sure and set within that you just radiate and you don't even have to try hard. You don't have to try to do anything. You just show up, right? Literally the sun, I just show up and I make shit happen, right? The sun just shows up and it's like trees are growing, the grass is blah, blah, blah. Things are moving, people are coming outside, to feel me, to feel this warmth and this radiance and this love, right? Because the Leo rules the heart. So it's all about heart connections too, and being and expressing too. So yeah, I think this transit is really beautiful. And I think that the another side of Leo though too, right? I have to bring this in is that unnurtured and kind of thirsty side of Leo can be very ugly, right? And it can come out as um, begging for attention and doing and wanting any kind of attention. So, like, just taking any kind of attention you can get, whether it's negative or positive or just being kind of nasty. It can come out as being very scarce. I think of it as kind of like Scar energy, right? If you've ever watched Lion King, that Scar energy where it's like where it can only be one and I need to be, the one, and I have to go to extreme lengths to get what I want. But it's like we could with beautiful, like really pure Leo energy, it's like everybody eats and everybody wins. And if you know any Leo people or like Leo moons, Leo suns, they are like that. They're when they're in their like peak state and they're like their pure state and that beautiful space and they're just like sure of themselves, they have that sureness within them. It's just a feeling of like everybody can do it. Everybody can get it. Like we all have there's space, there's room for everybody to shine, right? There is no one spotlight. And I think that's what Leo energy is all about. And so when it's unnurtured, and so Leo placements, this transit is really gonna help you reflect and look at where you're unnurtured and where you aren't getting or have received maybe from your child, especially childhood, because Leo also represents childlike energy, right? It even represents children, right? That creation and that kind of energy. So also nurturing those inner children in us, right? And that it'll really bring up that what did you lack or what did you feel like you were missing that has created this energy now as an adult that you have to move a certain way, right? Whether that be negative, like the quote unquote more negative ways that we can kind of want or go after things that we want because we don't quite maybe even notice it fully in ourselves or understand like why we're functioning a certain way or why we're doing things a certain way, right? And so Leo energy, this Venus moving through here, the literal planet of like love and values and stuff like that, is really going to reflect back what do we value within ourselves, like what do we see as valuable, right? And like why? Because one of the biggest things is like if you're born and you exist, you're worthy. There's just no question about it. Like everything else is just extra, right? And so I think Leo, Venus moving into Leo will also get us to really see like you don't have to do anything extra to be loved. You just have to be, right? Like you don't have to prove that you can provide this or provide that or do these things and do this to for anybody to love you. Like you are love. You are loved. You know what I'm saying? It's just within you. So I think that that's a big thing too with this transit is like realizing that you are that you just are and you don't have to you never had to prove your worth or prove your worthiness of love. And I think that's going to be really reflected back, especially during the retrograde, especially if you have Leo placements. But I think this goes for everybody because everybody is affected and touched by the sun, right? So that sun energy, Leo energy that is ruled by the sun, it's gonna you'll feel everyone will feel that, right? Like what are my values? What why did I think that this was the only way that I am valuable, right? Whatever it may be, right? Like it might be a man who feels like I'm only valuable if I have, a nice car or, heck of money or whatever it may be, right? And obviously you want to obtain these things because you need certain things to live and you have lifestyles that you like to live and things like that, whatever it may be. But you've always been this person. And if you were stripped bare, would you still be that person? Right? If you lost everything today, would you still be the person that you are? Right? In your core, like in your soul, like who are you? And like, do you just energy? And are these things coming to you because they just match your energy, or is it like a compensation? Right? Like, am I getting all this stuff and all these materials and all these outward things? Am I needing all this praise and this outward stuff because it's like compensating for a lack that I feel within myself? Or is it because I've actually like done the work within myself and I do truly feel secure in who I am? And I could lose this all today and I would still be that person, be that nigga, be that woman. Like I would still be that person with or without, right? That's the Leo energy. And you can think of Leo people. And I just feel like there's a certain sureness that some people have. I think what has been coming up too, and just in my brain, I've been thinking about and pondering on is the idea that some people just have insecurities but they're actually very secure within themselves. And then there's people that walk around and are very insecure within themselves. And I think this transit is really going to help those people figure out that security within because there's a difference between being a very secure person and sure of yourself and having a few insecurities around like I gained a little weight or something changed, like maybe an accident happened, something changed in your face, but you have a sureness of who you are at your core. And then there's a difference between a person who just is very unstable and insecure in their being for whatever reasons. It could be childhood stuff, it could be it could be relational stuff. It could be anything that has kind of shook and rocked what that person's foundation is in themselves. And a lot of it stems from like our childhood, right? Which is why I think this will also bring up so much of the childhood stuff. Especially with at some point, there's going to be a trine to the Chiron, the Aries Chiron right now. And Aries has been in Chiron for a minute. And that is always is talking about like wounds, and Aries is the baby, the beginning, the spring, right? So the origin story, right? So that trine is also going to be happening naturally, just one on a sign based level, but also when Leo hits a specific degree, that's the same as the degree that Chiron is in Aries. It's going to be a perfect exact trine, and so that energy is going to really come up, right? All that stuff that we've dealt with that has shaped our identity and what we identify as and what we believe within ourselves and about ourselves. Venus is going to really bring is going to bring all that up during this retrograde. And what retrogrades usually tend to do is, so what happens is the planet isn't actually going backwards. What happens is from our standpoint, it's like running on a track, and Earth is here, Venus is here, we're all going around the sun, right? If it starts to kind of like slow down a little bit, then Earth is going to seem like it's like you're sitting in traffic or something, and you don't go, but another car goes before you when the light turns green. And it almost feels like you're moving backwards. That's kind of what's happening. So we're kind of at our own pace. And for all we know, like it could be that we're speeding up a little bit and we just don't realize it. Who knows, right? Like who really knows what's like exactly happening out in the universe, right? But what it feels like for us and what it's seeming as from our standpoint in relation to the sun and to all the other planets around us, it feels like Venus is moving backwards, but Venus might just be slowing down a little bit or moving off course a little bit, like checking out some other shit, right? Moving in zigzags. It might not just be going in a straight direction now. It might be just shifting a little bit. So it's taking a little bit longer, right? On its normal course. It's like kind of going off its normal course while we're still just going like this. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And so to us, what does that feel like? If something starts to feel like it's pulling back, what do you think that's going to feel like for us? If it's going to, that energy is going to feel like things are kind of coming back into us, slowing down, pulling back a bit to look at everything over again, right? It's the revisiting, reassessing, relearning, right? All the re's come up when we have retrogrades. So it's a time of reflection, right? Going inward, right? If you think about something kind of slowing down, or like if you get kind of feel like the wind push you back, you almost kind of feel like you move in your body kind of like this energy kind of drops back into you, right? In a way. And so I'm being very theatrical about it, because I'm just trying to explain it. But that's kind of what you can think of it as it's kind of like coming back to yourself and kind of slowing down. And this is what all the retrogrades, but with Venus specifically, it's what's Venus's themes. What are my values? What are my internal values? What have I learned to value from my childhood? What was taught was valuable to me about me, right? What was taught, especially because Venus is also a feminine archetype, right? What did I think of as valuable in women? What are the values that I look at in women? What do I deem as valuable in a woman? How do I value women? How do I and appreciate and show up for the women in my life? How do I nurture the and more receptive energy within myself? How do I value about love? Right? And how do I love? How have I learned what love is? All those things are going to be coming up during this transit. How you have understood what love is. So things around your parents' relationships that you've seen growing up, your various relationships. Sometimes on a more even literal level, it could be past lovers literally coming back, and that doesn't mean, oh, this means that like we're meant to get back together or we're meant to like be apart. Sometimes it is a time to reconcile or reiterate or reinvent, right? It's a time that you get to either come to an understanding about something or get new insight, not new, but insight that you may have not had at a specific time and place during that relationship or something like that, that you're getting now, some new insight that's like, or a confirmation, right? That allows you to make a more clear decision and move forward, whether that be with that person or without, right? But you get to, I love the thing that I like about retrogrades, and I'm using that word loosely because Mercury retrogrades really be about ready to take me out. But I'm also Gemini rising with the Gemini Mars. So it's chaotic for me, okay? But what I do appreciate about retrogrades is that they give us a chance to really relook at things and see it from a different perspective or see a different piece. Like it's like a peeling layers of like an onion or something. You get to see a new layer of like, oh, I didn't see that back then, but now that I have a new understanding or a new perception of this person or this situation or myself and why I functioned the way I did, why I accepted certain things or why I made certain decisions in a relationship, and it doesn't even have to be specifically in a just intimate relationship. It could be in a friendship, it could be in a partnership, a business partnership of some sort, it could be in therapy, it could be all kinds of things, right? Because Venus is just, it can show you many different things. And so that's what I really love about retrogrades. And I think this retrograde is going to be very potent around being who we are and what we believe about ourselves. And the themes of Leo is a lot of boldness. So also boundaries, boldness, demanding what you want, right? Having a more coming from a more secure and like very what's the word I'm looking for? Just very like, I guess, centered, but also like, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going after, and this is what I'm going to get, and this is what I'm going to accept. Just being straight up like that. I think a lot of people will come out feeling a lot more of that, like confidence to be like, yeah, no, I don't like that, don't want it, that's out. Or I really love that and I appreciate that and I would like more of that, right? Being able to really communicate and express the things that we desire, the things that we want, the things that we love, and what we value, and also shifting our values, because sometimes we've had values for so long that we thought were ours, and they could have been something that maybe our parents valued, or that we just valued because we thought it was, that's what society valued, right? So really getting to the core of, what are my actual values? Do I value looks over this? Or is this the most important thing to me in a relationship? What are those things? And the relationship you have with yourself and how you show up for yourself in those ways. So what do you value most about yourself? And how does that show up? Which allows you, which, you know, um, basically kind of creates the energy that you show up in relationships as. Right? How you show up for yourself is how you show up in your relationships. It's pretty simple. Or I'm saying that it's simple, but it's very just like a straight direct line is what I mean. So those kinds of things. And I think that this is just gonna, I say this all the time, but I do think that this is a really beautiful transit. And I'm obviously very optimistic. And I feel it a lot. Being a Leo sun, having Leo placements. So, for example, if you're Leo sun, moon, rising, this is going to be very, it could feel very intense for you. If you're a fixed sign, so Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, you might feel, you're going to definitely feel some tug of war happening, right? Or some tension happening, because it's creating a square. And so what it's bringing up is the different points of kind of like, so for example, let's say I think I had talked to someone last night who was a Scorpio rising. So they have Leo in their 10th house, right? So it's going to be kind of creating this like motivation. It can be motivating, but it can also feel very tense and like kind of like just this tension kind of feeling that you're having around like your career, which is 10th house, and like what you want to show up as or how you see the world, right? You see the world through a very Scorpion, right? You're more skeptical, you're more private, right? And you don't want people in your business, things like that. But career wise, you have Leo up there. So it's kind of a tug and pull of like putting yourself out there, showing out, right? Being the center of attention. And then your Scorpio energy is like, but we don't want this, right? In our just kind of natural habitat or natural stance. I don't want the attention. I don't really want to be seen like that. Or I like to be kind of more private, right? So finding the middle ground between that privacy and that career, and like pushing and putting things out there into the world, right? So you might feel that tension there, for example. Or if you're if you have Aquarius placements, right, that's going to be an exact opposition. So finding the balance in doing what feels right in your heart, but also thinking with your head, right? Like things needing to make sense, right? Or it might be finding your community, right? The people that relate to you, that you can share your talents and your creativity with and make something bigger and more with, right? Um, it could be, I feel like with Aquarius and Leo, there's this kind of, I think of me and my sister who's an Aquarius, and she's very social and like, very bubbly and out there. And I'm kind of more like to myself and more kind of serious, I guess, things like that. So finding that balance and how, in a way, like we balance each other out in those ways when we're in community and when we're in spaces and when we're with each other. She's like the opener and I'm the closer, right? In a way, and things like that. Or, for example, if you have that square to Taurus, Taurus energy can be, a little bit more stubborn, similar to like the Scorpio, or kind of more like wanting to be low key. But Leo's like, no, put that shit out, create, be big, go big. Why play small, or why be kind of stuck in the mud, or like a stick in the mud, when you can, really live and have excitement and, all these things. Whereas Taurus can be kind of more wanting to be more simplistic, or, for lack of a better word, kind of boring sometimes. It's like Leo's like, get out there, like do something, spruce up, that kind of energy. So if you have like those fixed placements, you're gonna feel that bit of that tension, or maybe not even a little bit of that tension, just naturally kind of helping motivate you to shift or change something, or zhuzh it up or switch it up a bit. Those kinds of things. If you have, Aries in your chart, or what's the other fire sign? Sag. This could be a really nice flow, right? You're gonna feel this also, and it feels very, and that doesn't mean that's gonna be a positive flow, but it could bring in a flow of like things happening along the lines of with your love life, or with your creativity. Like for example, if you're in Aries rising, you're gonna have Leo in the fifth house. You're definitely gonna get a boost in like creativity and entertainment, pleasure, things of that nature is going to probably feel more seamless and easy to maybe date or meet people, um, or just create new things. Right? You might get a big, you might feel very inspired during this transit. Right? But it can also bring about like a lot of stuff coming up, like a lot of your childhood stuff coming up, a lot of inner child healing going on, or things that you have to address that are coming back to you, flooding in, right? Especially because you got the Chiron in Aries right now. So feeling a lot of those wounds come up, feeling triggered maybe a lot, right? So with that fire energy too, it's like we have to find outlets. With fire, you have to find outlets. It's the only sign. Fire is the only element that has to be contained in order for it to be productive or be beneficial, right? But if we just let fire go, it will burn everything down. So with fire signs, Aries, Sag, Leo, especially Aries, because Aries is that quick fire, that temperamental fire, that very spark fire, that very um what's the word? Uh Impulsive, right? And so with the Aries placements needing to feeling all that stuff come up, for feeling that, maybe feeling a lot of that childhood stuff come up and these triggers happening, needing to use that fifth house, that Leo energy, and finding creative ways to let it out, get creative, sexual energy, letting that energy move through you, right? All kinds of different ways you can do that, through dance, through creating, through your hands, through acting, or whatever it may be. Expression, expressing, that could be something simple, through like what you wear, right? How you feeling, wearing what you feel. you know I'm feeling, I don't know, blue today, so I'm gonna wear blue clothes because I need to express, like I need it to be known that I'm feeling blue or down, whatever it may be. Sag, if you're like a Sag rising, that Leo is going to be on your, is it ninth house, I believe. Let me see. Sag, Gemini. Yeah, ninth house. So it may have to do a lot more with spiritual things coming up. Things around, or if you're like younger, could have to do with like college or, um, like your studies, things like that. Stuff coming up around that. It could be things around your religion, your belief systems, what you believe, those kinds of things. Yeah. And then if you have Leo placements, so like for example, if you're a Leo moon, this energy might bring up a lot of stuff around like mothers, especially for men. This might have to do with how you view women. Like I was saying earlier, like what do you value and what do you think is valuable in women? And like, how have you having to look at the ways that you maybe have devalued women or not appreciate the women in your life, or your mother's relationship with you? How did that relationship affect how you treat women now and how you experience women now and how you um, move through the world with your daughter, with your sisters, with your mother, those kinds of things? It could be how you just look at relationships in general based on your parents' relationship, based on your relationship with your parents, things like that. The moon is heavily representative of mothers and the nurturance you receive and our comfort, right? It could have to do with your home. And you may even have things going on. It might bring up stuff around your body, um, those kinds of things. If you're a Leo sun, right? It may have something to do with more so how you, like literally like how you express yourself. The sun is literally expression and our conscious mind. So how we go after what we want, the ways that we draw things into ourselves, how we become magnets for what we want or what we're attracting to ourselves. um the energy that we're kind of putting out into the world, it can bring that up. If you're a woman, this may sometimes even specifically have to do with like your relationship with your father and the love that you received from him and how you now view what you deserve or what you receive, right? Or you're more authoritative or parent, and how they've kind of shown up for you and what you kind of expect or would like in your relationships, things like that. um if you are having your Venus return, this is really big, right? Because it's not just a regular Venus return. You're having a literal retrograde happening. So things are coming up. And Leo Venuses, you guys are big. You guys are like, you need to be on me. I need to know that you love me every day. You need to reassure me every minute. I need all your attention. Y'all need a lot of attention and love and nurturance, and you need to feel assured in your partnership. So that's all going to be coming up. And also coming up around like, what have you sacrificed just to feel like you're loved, or even accepting like fake love because you just want to feel something, right? Or you just, because you may not be totally like sure of yourself or like fully in love with yourself. So like looking for things that feel those kind of, I this is for lack of a better word, but like that void, or that feeling of not feeling whole within yourself. So you kind of just take kind of whatever you can get, right? Those things will be coming up. Where have you just like shorted yourself in your relationships, and in all kinds of relationships, in your friendships, in your especially your romantic relationships? Where have you shorted yourself, or where have you been like, well, they do this for me, or they feed this need, so I'm just accepting all the other shit that comes with that, or the lacks that come with that, right? Where you've shorted yourself and what you need, for the sake of, maybe somebody has they flatter you. They tell you you're beautiful all the time, or they tell you all the right things, but they're not actually showing up for you on a real level, right? Those kinds of things. Um, Leo Mars is going to be bringing up a lot of things around your. I feel like Leo Mars has like really crazy work ethics, and they're very demanding of themselves when it comes to going after what they want. And so I think this Venus will also help you kind of realize that sometimes you don't have to always fight and like just push forward. You can actually like draw things into you, right? I feel like Venus is more of a magnetism, whereas Mars is more of a force. And so sometimes I think Leos can be like, but I have to force it. I have to get it. I have to go, right? Whereas like the Venus, I think will come in and be like, okay, but what can we just do within ourselves that actually just like creates the space for whatever we're wanting? Because maybe you don't have the space for what you're wanting, but you're going after something, but you haven't created the setting, the space, the time for what you want. So you are running around in circles, or kind of just being busy doing nothing. Right? I think that's what might come up for the Leo Mars people. Leo Saturn, I think this could be, it might be more around like your responsibilities and your security in your life, having more to do with, and on a literal level, it could be things like you meet an older person, or you meet, you have some power dynamics happening within your relationships. I think for like sometimes the Saturn and Venus interaction can be like power dynamics coming up and coming into play, or like big age differences, or things like authoritative people in your life and how they show up for you. I feel like Saturn can also be representative of father energy or authoritative energy too. So sometimes if I'm not looking at the sun, I will look more to Saturn for like father figures or things like that in a chart. And so sometimes if you're having like a Leo or you're having a Venus transit to Saturn, that can also bring up things around like your the relationship you have with your father, or your more authoritative parent, or your more stern parent in a way. That kind of energy, right? Different houses that this Venus is moving through are going to represent different things. I think if you have like, lastly, if you have a Leo Jupiter, abundance in your resources, your creativity and your pleasure, those kinds of things. Leo Venus, I think, nice transit for you guys. Probably more money, or more resources in general, or more ways to get money, or ways to acquire the things that you need. It might not specifically be money, but it could be acquiring things that you need, especially too with the Jupiter, with the current Jupiter being in Taurus. I think this could be really nice for the Leo people if you're able to, find the happy medium for yourself, and find a good flow and energy that you can hold on to and kind of move with, right? Obviously, if you're kind of being more like, some people can move through the world and they just are like, I'm unlucky, or I'm on this, or I'm like, I can't, or I did this. But if you kind of have that kind of energy, I feel like if you're like with this energy and that kind of more grumpy, kind of like down energy, you could really be blocking your own blessings, or whatever you want to call it, or your own miracles happening. So I think if you have like Leo Jupiter, or really nice Jupiter placements, it's really about you really just having the right energy around your shit. Yeah, and then obviously it's going to move through different houses for different people. So like I said earlier, when I was talking about like Scorpio risings, right? It's in their this transit is going to be moving to their 10th house of career. But if this is a really nice transit for people who have Leo in their second, in their succeeding houses. So second house, fifth house, eighth house, and 11th house is going to be a nice transit, because those are receiving houses. So having Venus move through those houses, where it's like you'll be getting things, receiving things. And sometimes I'm not to just act like this is just always just all gonna be positive, because sometimes we receive things that aren't so positive, right? But it's more receiving energy when it moves through those houses. If you're like third house, if it's like third house, sixth house, ninth house, 12th house, these are working houses. So these houses are kind of making adjustments and making changes, right? So third house, like for example, I'm a Gemini rising, so I have Leo in my third house. It's going to be kind of more centered around like, what rituals am I doing to really feed myself, right? To really like keep me in a centered space. My rituals, my day-to-day stuff, it's going to affect those things. It might even, and sometimes like the transits, will think something's going to happen specifically to us, but we're all connective tissue in this big world, right? So third house is siblings. It could be things going on specifically more so with your siblings or like your grandparents, right? That's happening, that you're getting kind of secondhand, effects from, not necessarily you specifically, right? Or for example, like sixth house, it could be things happening more in your workplace versus it just happening specifically to you, but it could be things going on in the workplace that are second-handedly affecting you. Those types of things. So yeah, I think that's all I got for today. And I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts or how you felt about this live. If you really liked it, if you hated it, I love feedback, and I love to know where I can kind of give you more information or explain things better, all those kinds of things. And of course, you can always book readings with me. They're up on my website, bobbyperfection.com or bobtrology.com, either one. You can book with me to get a more in-depth reading about like you specifically and what's going on in your life and what might be coming up for you. So yeah, but thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I hope y'all have a good rest of the night.